You're listening to Talk Star Wars, a proud member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Check us out on the web at starwarscommonwealth.com and take your first steps into a larger world. Hello there, and welcome back to Talk Star Wars, episode 161 from Emotionally 14. I'm Rob.
And I'm Andy.
Hello, Andy.
Hello.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. Yourself?
I am knackered, but otherwise good. Otherwise good.
That.
Yeah. No Brad this week, unfortunately. He has prior engagement, but he will be here next show, all being well. I can never say for sure because, you know, he sometimes gets poorly. Having a little, you know, having a baby, they tend to be little petri dishes that toddle around.
Excuses.
Well, I know, you know. Well, you know, I tend to give him the benefit of the doubt and just call them reasons. But yeah, he should be back next week. I know. I realize you guys are two ships passing in the night, but you will, I hope, be on a show together at some point.
I don't think I've ever spoken to him.
No, it's the trouble, isn't it? Because you know he wasn't able to come with us to Force Friday when we went to that at the old Toys R Us. May it rest in peace. He didn't get to come with me to Solo when I went to the midnight show, and it's the last time you and I sort of spent time together, Star Wars themed. We ran into each other in a shopping centre.
We did recently. Yeah.
That was, you know, that was nice, but a bit odd. And annoyingly, one of those moments where I couldn't stop and chat because I'd already told Jen she was, you know, I'm just around the corner, 2 minutes, and then you were on your way.
I had a child to get to bed.
Family in tow, yeah. No, it happens, you know. As again, two ships passing in the night. Sometimes you go, oh, that's a ship. Hello. So yeah, or
a boat. It depends.
Yeah, it could be a boat. This is true. And you go. Then you get into like, is it a schooner? And then like what?
Frigate.
It could be a frigate. Yeah, totally.
Tug.
I'll pass. Thanks, mate. Oh my. So we have quite a few questions this week. One of them's actually in a weird quirk of fate. One of them's you. So you get to field your own question, which is something I don't think we've ever done before. This is an Andy on Andy action. Never before done or to be done since.
There is, if you go on certain campsites on a Friday night.
Oh, okay. Well, the less we say about that, the better. So, I mean, I'll be honest, there's not a lot of news out of Star Wars at the moment. It does seem like everything's being held back for Celebration, which you can understand. Yeah,
it's almost like there's something big coming.
I know, right? It's odd. Yeah. I can't get my head around it. There were a couple of bits. It looks like Lucasfilm Games is staffing up. So there's no technical staff being hired. It's all, you know, coordinators, but it suggests a certain degree of willingness to get it more involved in the management of the gaming, which is, you know, can only be good. If they're trying to get, you know, buoy EA up, or they need to, you know, maybe it's to speed up the process, because I imagine there's probably a lot of back and forth if you're dealing with storyline stuff with Lucasfilm, because obviously they got that story group, but they're quite busy, I've understood, you know, what with books and comics and movies and stuff. There's a big
a multi-billion-dollar franchise to deal with.
Exactly. You know, it's not. Yeah. I don't imagine it's an easy task to manage that sort of thing on that level with a group of people bigger than smaller than a few dozen.
I don't think it's that hard, to be honest with you. I think you just slap a lightsaber and the Star Wars logo on something and we buy it.
That is the cynical but historically accurate. It does line up with my experience of things and a lot of lightsaber flavored tat that I own.
I mean, we can sit there and say how bad the Christmas special is, the holiday special is, but let's be honest, we've all seen it and we all know it and we all talk about it regularly. So they're doing something right. Do we want to go down the Lucas game route with me? Because I will talk about this for hours if need be. But
I think I take it as a positive that they're interested in looking into ways to make it a more a better process. I think that's a good thing. What do you think?
The only reaction I had to this when it was posted in our group, where someone posted the news in there.
Yeah.
The only thing I could get out was a GIF of Michael Scott happy crying. that was my That was my internal monologue at that time.
So it's a good sign.
I am so over the moon with this. We spoke about this. I'm going to clang here and name drop. We spoke about this on Retro Inc. A while back about the future of Lucas, like the games and stuff like that with Lucasfilm. And this was what I wanted. I said this a few months ago. This is, if this direction goes and they stop the contract with EA, this is what I want. I want them to take it on themselves again. Disney and Lucasfilm have this division.
I don't know that that's the plan, but
I think it's the long term.
It might well be, yeah. I mean, for now, it seems to be more of an effort to make it a faster process all round, which is, again, it's still a positive.
The process, I think it is this is what I said on the thing. I think they will be a publisher and they will get developers working for them, as opposed to giving out their property and their license to a sole developer. So giving it to EA or giving it to BioWare or giving it to Bethesda.
Yeah.
It pigeonholes your brand and your franchise and your property to a developer's skill set. And I mean, you look historically, if you gave it to Bethesda, you're going to be talking about essentially first person shooters or open world RPGs. If you give it to, BioWare, you're going to get a similar thing. You give it to different developers, you'll get different styles of gaming.
Yeah.
And EA are they're
a broad church.
MMO.
Yeah.
Gaming, guns, fighting, that Sports. Sort of studio. And it kind of, again, pigeonholes you to a brand where I want them to go, right, I want to go, this is back to the golden years of Lucas Games where we had them publishing, but you had people like BioWare creating Knights of the Old Republic.
Yep.
You had EA doing Battlefront.
Yep.
And this is what they need to be doing again. Instead of, and that I think will help, like you say, that story group work on it themselves, because they will turn to a developer and go, this is what we want. This is the story. Make it.
Yeah.
And they will fund that and they will have more of a direction. And then that way as well, you're not sitting on someone like EA that's had the property for 10 years and knocked out a couple of games. You're giving it to, there will be 4 or 5 studios essentially creating different games for Star Wars. And we can go back to the days where we had a pod racing game and then 2 months later we have a first person shooter and then we have an RTS and then we can go back to those glory days. And it also leaves me open to think about remakes here. Okay, because remakes are a very, very big thing at the moment. Not remasters, remakes. Look at like Resident Evil 2. It's built from the ground up.
Yes. Final Fantasy 7, the upcoming one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're building these games from the ground up because they're classics. Let's think about, right, everyone wants Knights of the Old Republic. What's to stop them from
doing it?
Remaking that? Or even going back to Republic Commando and things. Because we've got Clone Wars coming back out. Yeah. There's no reason why they couldn't drop that in line.
True.
So that's why I'm excited about it.
Yeah, so you see it as like, although for the time, at the moment, it's not that, you hope that that's kind of, it's the start of a work towards that in the future.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I can see that. And I would be good with that. I get what you mean about if you want something, a strong racing game, you give it to Turn 10 or you give it to whoever makes Gran Turismo now. I don't even know. And if you wanted maybe a really strong story-driven game, maybe you give it to Remedy, I guess. Although, obviously the 2 game in 10 years thing, Remedy are not that much better for that.
But this is the thing. I mean, you're opening it up now. Look at DICE. Look at what are they called? The ones who made Call of Duty as well.
Activision with Sledgehammer. They got Sledgehammer.
Raven. Thank you. That's what I was thinking of. And you look at Sledgehammer and you look at Activision, essentially doing a first-person shooter Star Wars game.
Yeah,
they could be working on that again. This could be a yearly.
Well, Raven did. Raven used to make the old Jedi Knight games. I'm pretty sure.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we can go back to some story-driven first-person shooters. We can have this whole plethora of Star Wars video games in production. And let's be honest, if you're a studio, a game developer, and you had the chance to make a Star Wars game, or even look at them now, they're probably sitting there all thinking, God, I hope they come knocking at our door.
Yeah. I always thought Telltale would have made a good Star Wars series with, to take it to you put a couple of familiar characters in there, like Game of Thrones. You have a side story that's happening alongside the main plot, and you occasionally interweave it with the real, the characters from the main show, the characters from the main show. Every now and then they cross over, and other than that, they go off and do their own thing in a separate bit, which is, I think something like that with Star Wars could have worked very well. It's a shame because obviously that's not going to happen with Telltale, but I mean, Skybound have finished off The Walking Dead, and so I can't imagine that another company won't come along and start doing that sort of thing as well. Hopefully they will spend more time working on their engine.
Yeah, they needed to change the way they distribute things as well. We're living in a binge generation.
That's also true. Yeah,
people became bored. I mean, I was one of them. I didn't. I waited until The Walking Dead was complete, and then I downloaded the whole pack.
Yeah, I've done that.
So what's the point in waiting weekly or monthly or Yeah,
I've done that with a few of them. So yeah, with the Lucasfilm stuff, I get what you mean. There's a caution. There's cause to be optimistic, despite the fact that on the surface this doesn't necessarily answer the question that a lot of people want the answer to, but it does open that possibility up over time.
Wholly. Yeah. Honestly, I really think it answers it. It says to me...
Not explicitly then. It doesn't say explicitly this is definitely happening in the future, but it certainly lends itself to that possibility.
What I'm saying is happening in the future, but what I see this as is Disney and Lucasfilm and Lucas Games turning around and going, it's okay, we got this. They're not renewing a contract with any individual developer like they did with EA. They have just turned around and gone, we're restarting our studio. That is what this says. Whether or not it's verbatim there and it sounds like it, they don't just go and start a new division up and start hiring people when they haven't got a game plan here. This isn't this might work. This to me says to us, in 8 years' time, when X, Y, and Z are out, and we've got this streaming platform out, we want our own games. Because games take a long time to make as well.
Could well be, yeah.
And that's what I see it as. They're going to be sitting there going, there's already conversations happening, I believe, with developers. So,
yeah, I mean, time will tell, but I think that's entirely possible. That's the one piece. There was another piece that dropped about Benioff and Weiss, and there's rumours that their movie will start shooting this week. Now, I thought we'd been told it was at least 2, and I'm still pretty sure that's true. But I mean, certainly the first one sounds like it might start shooting next week, which is kind of cool. So then hopefully the reason I'm excited for that announcement, on the face of it, is not much there, but it does suggest that we might find out more about that celebration.
Yes.
The fact that they're dropping that now says to me in a few weeks' time they're going to start sharing the basics of, even where you can find it canonically and chronologically. So, we shall see, but that's kind of why I'm excited about that one.
Yeah.
But the bulk of this, I say, what we've got here this week is a lot of content from our wonderful, wonderful listener base. So we'll begin, as we always do, with the spoiler-free Resistance Roundup. And this is the roundup, the proper roundup, because this is the last episode of Series 1 we're talking about. Yeah, so Vesuvi's, in the UK, I don't know where we are in the UK.
Episode 2, probably.
Yeah, probably. I think the trailer's just dropped. I know it can't get it on digital streaming.
It's Rebels, isn't it? We're talking about Rebels.
Yeah, Rebels, yeah. Season, I think, 3 is dropping soon. I know it's not available on digital download because I went looking for it and couldn't find it. It's not even on there as a pre-order, which is just, it's so poor. It is such it's I don't like to harp on it too much, but it really is quite it's obnoxiously poor at this point. It's like, I don't get it. Why is there not at least a series pass on there? With Rebels you had a series pass, but now there's nothing at all.
The whole way they distribute their cartoons globally is a joke.
It's rubbish.
It really is.
Yeah, I'm hoping that, if Disney Plus drops and they, give that a bit more of a UK-centric feel, then maybe we'll get stuff on there, even if it's a couple of weeks after the fact. I'll be happy if that's one of the upsides, because it really, something has to, change. Because I just lose it. The problem is, if it wasn't for Vesuvi sending in these roundups, I wouldn't be chasing it up.
No.
As cool as it sounds and as nice as the trailers look and everything like that, I'm not going to go out of my way to go and pirate stuff. Other, methods are available and advised because they're legal and, get creators paid for their work. I'm not going to go looking for it because I don't have enough time to watch the stuff I subscribe and have paid for, let alone going to find stuff to then add to my impossible list and make it even more impossible.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's not like I've got 6 months worth of PlayStation Plus games I haven't even installed yet.
Mate, I'm not even thinking about games. That's just that thought's even more depressing because I've got Plus and Live Gold. So
I've got to watch that new film as well that's just come out, Iron Man 2. I haven't got around to that yet. This is why I do a retro podcast, because it's actually the first time I'm watching most of it. I just got around to Mac and Me.
So I've just seen Mad Max. Oh, what, Fury Road? No.
Road Warrior.
Yeah, exactly. Although I did watch Fury Road the other day for the first time, so I thought that was pretty cool. Hadn't seen it before that. I quite liked it. It's very intense. Like it's a ride in every respect. I don't know. As much as I thought, this is pretty cool, I don't know that I would ever see myself watching it ever again, because I sort of got everything I needed out of it.
I do not like the Mad Max franchise, I'm afraid.
Oh, just the franchise thing. Fair enough.
I just don't like any of them.
Yeah. No, I mean, it doesn't, not everything lands with everyone, and that's fine.
My post-apocalyptic has me questioning my life choices. That's how I like it.
Yeah.
At the end where I feel like I want to rip my heart out and jump off a bridge or something.
Yeah. It's like watching I Am Legend going, why did I just watch this?
That's The Road, mate. That's what you got to watch.
Oh, The Road. There you go.
It's a beautiful book as well.
You want you really want your stuff full of pathos, don't you?
Yeah.
Wow. So Vesuvi concludes Series 1's roundup thusly. No Escape Part 2 proved to be an action-packed cinematic finale. I won't dare to hint about most of it, but one clue I will reveal is deballasting can have a flushing effect. Now that Season 1 of Star Wars Resistance has concluded, I hope I've been able to give you a mostly non-spoilery soupçon of what to expect. Sure, there are slapstick and superficial aspects, and expected fare such as racing or pirate activity. It also delves deeper, however, like with the after effects of genocide or how different species use particularities of their biologies to confound opponents, not to mention the ever-present topic of loss and how everyone deals with it uniquely. All in all, there are solid character developments and numerous setups that contribute to the melange of the climax, and an exordium for Season 2. Personally, I enjoyed it, became undeniably attached to the residents of the Colossus, and I look forward to more. I hope many of you will find it ranks non-pareil with other animated Star Wars offerings, despite being painted from a similar primal palette. We live in a busy world with tons of content to choose from. We were just talking about that. That's weird. But if you're fond of the galaxy far, far away, I urge you to give Resistance a chance, but mostly to share it with younglings in your orbit. P.S. I've heard several reviewers refer to the grey with a grey with black accents BB unit as BB-9E, but BB-9E is black with grey accents. As of this morning, we finally get a designation for the pesky First Order ball droid making life on Colossus extra complicated. It's MB-13A. All right, well, there you go. I mean, I don't imagine a droid designation is especially large spoilers, especially considering it doesn't seem to have been covered in the episode. It seems to have been a postscript added on, way after the fact. So I'm guessing from the conversation we just had that Resistance has not been one you've picked up.
It's not, mate. No. I have a hard time with the Star Wars cartoons, to be honest with you.
Okay, it's just one of those things that just doesn't land for you.
Yeah, I've just spoke about it recently. Clone Wars. I'm sure the content is great storytelling, but I can't get past the intro announcements and stuff without it making my toes curl. So
that's fair enough. I mean,
it's like a watery feeling in my mouth.
Yeah, not everything lands for everyone. Like I say, it's absolutely understandable and totally fine. I mean, I know plenty of people who like various things I just can't get my head around the appeal of. To be honest, I've got further into Rebels than I have Clone Wars. I really enjoyed Rebels. It's just something about
I don't know. It's not even the cartoon aspect of it. I just can't seem to stick with it. It's not that I can't get into it. I really enjoyed what I saw of Rebels. Clone Wars, I've got all of them. I've got every one of them. I just
can't get into it.
No.
That's fair enough. Let's say, it's not. It's worth keeping in mind, obviously, that even though they want us to enjoy it, we're not the primary audience.
Exactly.
So it's fair enough. It's at that point, if you enjoy it, it's a bonus.
Yeah,
but it's not something where they're going to be like, I really hope, dudes in their 30s. I mean, I'm sure they hope that dudes in their 30s do like it because
we're the ones that buy the toys.
Yeah. It's not the kids, is it? Let's be fair. I mean, why would it be, right? It just seems, it's just ridiculous. Don't
give it to them. They open them.
Yeah, put it on the shelf out of the box. Yeah, I do. I'm being flippant. I actually do have stuff sealed up, but it's not for lack of wanting to open it. It's just I don't have space to display stuff, so it's all just in the boxes while I figure out what to do. I know a certain co-host of mine who buys literally every single thing there is and puts them in a box and then puts them in a loft. Yeah.
So, that's, wow.
It's nice to have. Yeah. The stuff that's nice to have,
One day I'll get that box out, look at it and go, I've got that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's the thing I have. Yeah. I mean, I can't really be too harsh on them as I've just been doing the Great HeroClix catalogue. And as I look around this room and realise what a marginal percentage of the room I've covered and how many there already are.
Surrounded by your army of HeroClix.
Moving on. So Vesuvi went on to write in again regarding last week's episode. So Vesuvi writes, thanks, Rob. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, multiple marks. Thanks, Groucho Marx. Thanks, subtlety. Thanks, blatancy. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, Dooku Does Dallas. I've forgotten all about that gag.
Dooku Does Dallas.
Thanks, Wayans Brothers and their offspring. Thanks, Australian Alan. All the different. Sorry, when I just repeat the name, it's not me having some sort of record scratch. It's all the different alternate spellings have been presented. I've got to take my crack at the recasting challenge based primarily on birth years. So you may, listeners out there now, if you have access to the facility, you may wish to open IMDb as you listen to this episode right now because some of these are a little bit obscure, and I think I do think deliberately so. So we shall see. Qui-Gon Jinn is Jean-Louis Murat, who is a composer and occasional actor. Unfortunately, not one with a photo. That's unfortunate. Young Obi-Wan is Damian Lewis. I can actually see that working, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sort of wish I'd thought of that. I can't remember who I went with. Was it DiCaprio, I think?
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with him.
And I threw in Jonathan Lipnicki as young Anakin because reasons. I remember now.
I'll get to my other one that I brought up in the other thing.
Yeah.
Why didn't you choose the little fat kid from Bad Santa?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that one.
There's no other choice.
No, I think maybe I've erred there. I think I need to do some soul searching. Padme is Sabrina Sato, so I'm going to have to say some of these are going to require a little bit of research on my part because I have no idea who they are.
Sabrina Sato.
Yeah, unfortunately so.
These are a real deep dive, aren't they?
They are. There are some real deep dives in this. I've seen a picture of her in a movie poster, and I can sort of see that. She's got that kind of, she's about the right age as well, which helps.
Big Brother Brazil presenter.
Yeah, there you go. Fame beckons, right? Young Anakin is Imogen Poots with a short haircut. Okay. I mean, actually, that works surprisingly well. And if you can have Cate Blanchett play Bob Dylan, I'm just saying, it seems like it can be done,
Yeah.
This is a good one, actually. Older Anakin is Tom Hiddleston.
Yes.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if we covered that one last week, as in even brought it up as an option, but that works. I don't know what he was doing in the sort of early 2000s. I don't know if he was working yet.
Stage, wasn't he?
Yeah, probably was stage. Dooku is... this is one of the ones where I think she's gone off the rails on this crazy train. Dooku is Norodom Sihanouk, former king of Cambodia. Sure. Similarly, Leia is Mimi Rogers. Okay. Luke is John Lydon, a.k.a. Johnny Rotten from the Sex Pistols.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not quite feeling that one.
I can. You see him in a really heavy pair of DMs, some jeans and a vest, getting onto his speeder bike to go off to Toshi Station.
Yeah.
Cause some problems, do a bit of graffiti.
Power converters, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oi.
Go have a fight in a cantina.
Yeah. See, it's the thing, I suppose for me, I've never been a big fan of the Sex Pistols. I've liked John Lydon more as he's got older and become a bit more,
Those Lurpak adverts were definitely the pinnacle of his career.
Oh, that is, to me, punk is all about great butter. It
is indeed.
It's really important to me.
Punk is all about doing commercial adverts and getting paid for it.
100%. I think that's, if there's one thing you can take away from the punk ethos, it is get paid. Han is Ian McShane. I'm trying to think. Young Ian McShane. I don't remember a young Ian McShane because to me, he's always got that sort of weathered face like he's got in American Gods.
Yeah, because even he was in, what was the program he was on TV? Lovejoy. He's been the same age forever, hasn't he?
I think he has. This is what I mean.
Yeah.
Like it's, even looking back on his old IMDb pictures, to be honest, he looks like Richard Keel. I don't think that quite works. He's got, he's not he wasn't a bad looking chap when it comes to the sort of 60s and early 70s.
Ian McShane now. I mean, you think Deadwood? He played a cowboy in that.
Yeah, I think he can do it in terms of acting chops. It's more, I can't quite, like I say, because I have no frame of reference for him visually from that era.
Yeah, you can't see it.
I just can't quite gel with it, which is a shame because I think, he seems like he's a very good actor. I mean, I enjoy him a lot in American Gods, and I even enjoyed him in Pirates of the Caribbean 4, which is he was about the only bit of that I found really enjoyable.
I think I gave up after number 1.
That is fair. That is by far the best one. So, it's tricky there otherwise. Old Ben is Eli Wallach. Now, this one I do have to... Okay. Vesuvi likes a lot of Italian cinema, I think. Yeah, I can sort of see that working. He's quite a famous method actor. A lot of westerns, so he's probably got experience wearing.
Oh yeah.
Outfits that might fit in a desert setting. And then Tarkin is Jean Marais. I know this. I say some of these just go off the track in a way that I enjoy, but at the same time I find peculiar and confusing. But it's him from Orpheus or Orphée, the French one. It's a good movie. That it's a classic, really old one, really really old one. In fact, Orphée dates back as far as 1950. I watched it at university. It's a good movie, I'd say. It's basically just a French retelling of the Legend of Orpheus.
All right.
That's it.
Okay.
It's just a really good, it's just a really enjoyable 1950s sort of surreal.
Sorry, mate, too highbrow for me. No spaceships and laser swords.
Well, you'll recognise some of the names coming up, so don't worry about that. But yeah, do you know what? I'll go with that one. I can see that totally working. And moving on, Chewbacca is Gladys Knight wearing stilts. This is where I think, like I say, there's some stuff where I think it's going off the rails in a way I enjoy, but at the same time I feel is designed to elicit a reaction. Similarly, the voice of C-3PO is Timothy Dalton.
I love that.
Do you know, it might work. I don't know enough about Timothy Dalton's 1970s work, but...
Yeah, but think of Timothy Dalton in Hot Fuzz. That sort of slimy, creepy voice.
Yeah, that would be a good... if you'd have to do the personality slightly differently for C-3PO, I think.
Yeah.
But I think you could probably make it work.
It'd probably come across as more of a douchebag.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Than annoyance. Yeah.
Lando is Morgan Freeman.
That's Morgan Freeman. He could be Luke as well if he wants.
He could. I mean, he could have. If Star Wars had a narrator, it would be Morgan Freeman as well, right? Just because it's just him.
A long time ago.
People love the sound of my voice. So the Rancor trainer, Malakili, is now, obviously, as you'll recall, in last week's episode, we decided he was absolutely everyone. Everybody had a go. The whole episode was called Rancor Keeper Casting Call because of how many people we decided had read for the role, including such greats as Sir Anthony Hopkins. I wanted to, I'll tell you what, I'll reiterate from last week. I just wanted to see people watch it and go, is that, what? Is that really who I think it is? So the Rancor keeper, Malakili, is Geraldine Chaplin. I had to look her up, but I recognise the face and I can't think where from now, and it's going to bug me until I find out. But she looks like she's been in a fair few, she's got a very, very lengthy filmography. She's clearly prolific. But I can't place where I recognise her from. I get
that a lot, to be honest with you, when I look at something.
Yeah.
As somebody in a film, and I recognise them. I look through their IMDb. They've got so many things, and I've probably never seen any of them.
Oh, and she's the daughter of Charlie as well.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Wicket is Minnie Driver. Oh, I mean, that might work. I don't know how tall Minnie Driver is.
I was going to say, I think she's too short.
Maybe, yeah. Oldest Anakin, under the mask, is Greta Garbo. And in brackets, she's written, odd to learn that she was still alive in 1983.
Yeah, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah. Finn is Malcolm David Kelly. So this is going to be one that I'm going to have to...
And then you're going to go, oh, wow, it's him.
I've clicked the wrong one. Darn. Is there a way to... Yes.
Oh,
Thank you. Keyboard shortcuts.
Walt from Lost.
Oh, okay. All right. I knew
the name. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, now I can, yeah.
Yeah, that might work quite nicely, actually. And he has, connections to films I enjoy because he's in Lost with Harold Perrineau from the Constantine TV series, which I very much enjoyed.
But if we're going Lost, can't we just have George Garcia?
I mean, sure, yeah.
As Finn. That'd be great. I'd love to see him in a Stormtrooper outfit.
That'd be good. I don't see why not. We make the rules here.
I think Hurley in a Stormtrooper outfit would be quite amusing.
He was the first one to fail the training. You don't say. Which bit? Let me see if I can guess. Which bit that happened?
The getting out of bed.
Yeah. Poe is Rosario Dawson. I quite like that. Yeah, I quite like that. I like her a lot. I've got a lot of time for Rosario Dawson. Yeah. So she turned up in something I watched the other day, and I was like, wow, I'm surprised to see her. Oh, Jen watches this show on Netflix called Jane the Virgin.
Oh yeah, I know the one. Yeah,
and I find it. I bust her chops because I think it's cheesy and it's entertaining in its cheesiness, but it is a bit.
It's not too bad.
It's billed as like a telenovela homage, and it is suitably ludicrous to kind of fit the bill. But she's in that, and I was quite surprised to see her turn up, but not disappointed by any means. Ray is Kirsten Maldonado, one of the singers from Pentatonics. Interesting choice. I know. So this is one of the really off the wall.
Work out the trail of thought for that one.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just maybe Vasu's gone for a similar look there. I don't know. Kirsten Maldonado. I was in Pitch Perfect 2 as well. There we go.
Oh, is she?
Yeah,
that's a good film.
Oh, okay.
Kirsten
Maldonado. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can. Do you know what? Actually, looking at her in a sort of, she's got a headshot on IMDb. Obviously, other websites for finding out the pictures of people are available.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, you know what? I can see that working.
Yeah,
I can see that totally.
Mm-hmm.
Phasma is Amal Clooney, also wearing stilts. No stilts for Minnie Driver. Not fair, is it?
But
Also, not for nothing, but Amal Clooney is quite a prolific human rights lawyer. Quite prominent in that respect, as I recall.
Okay.
It seems odd that she would make the jump to not only acting. If you're going to jump to acting, do you jump in Star Wars? Like, is there not enough pressure on you when you're jumping from legal into acting?
Well, let's be honest, she can't do any worse than her husband.
Well, yeah, fair. Although he does play one of the better Bruce Waynes, but unfortunately not the Batman.
Yeah. The smouldering look.
Indeed. Kylo is Henry Cavill. She's qualified that as long as he is constantly shirtless, I'll be all right with that.
I'm fine with that too, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Totally at ease with that here.
Comfortable in my sexuality enough to admit that one.
I can recognise a beautiful man when I see one. It's fair.
I do.
You know? Yeah. Hux is Aziz Ansari. Okay. Do you know what? I can go with that. It requires a bit. It doesn't require that much of a character shift. It requires a massive shift in episode 7, and not so much in episode 8.
Yeah, Kevin Hart I'd go for if we were going to go a comedy actor. Yeah. Because Kevin Hart can do straight. I've never seen Aziz Ansari do straight.
Right, I get you. Yeah, so
but I've seen even in Central Intelligence, Kevin Hart plays this kind of everyman, just getting on with his job, and then he has his funny moments, and I think that would work better that way. Mm-hmm. Aziz to me is more in your face, silly.
Yeah, I see. Where we did get to, Rose is Sam Tsui. Tsui? I can't. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation, but
American singer-songwriter.
Sometimes a hero. Is that the one?
I think you could take a plane off of that.
Is that
quiff that he's got?
Yeah. Okay. I reckon
he's got a constant fan blowing in his face.
Maybe. Yeah, that would explain a lot. Looking at that, the still image I think you're seeing, the same one as me from Sing Along.
Yep.
Holdo is Nene Leakes. Now, this, I must confess, I do not know who Nene Leakes is. My goodness. Okay, so I found her. Holdo. No, I'm not seeing it for Holdo. If you wanted to recast Maz Kanata in the physical role, I reckon you could dress her up into quite a good Maz Kanata.
Yeah.
I can't see her as Holdo, personally. Young Han is Christopher Mintz-Plasse. McSolo. I can't see it, personally. I think that one is one that's deliberately off the wall and silly.
Don't know, he's got some chops.
He does have some chops, but at the same time...
How about Jonah Hill?
Jonah Hill, he's at least played some serious stuff a bit more. You know, I can sort of go with that.
No, I mean like Jonah Hill era, Superbad era.
Oh, I see. Okay.
As young Han Solo.
I feel like that would be the room. That was the kind of the worst case scenario of the rumoured Lord and Miller script, was kind of that Ace Ventura style silliness and over the top stuff. Yeah. It just doesn't quite. I think it's a bit too...
We will never know what happened there.
No, truly not. Which is a shame because, you know, I'd quite like to know.
That's what we do.
Kira is Kat Dennings. I can sort of see that working.
Yeah, I mean, she's just a bit annoying, isn't she?
A little bit. But I think that's kind of part of a gimmick, as it were.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work out what I've seen her in, because she used to be in a show... I'm talking years ago. And I forget what it was. Raising Dad. That was it. Yeah, that was the show I was thinking of.
Obviously, she's in Thor.
Yes.
And that girl program, Two Girls, whatever it's called on.
Two Broke Girls.
That's the one thing.
Raising Dad. This is actually, if you look at the cast, this is actually pretty good looking back. Bob Saget plays the dad.
Yeah.
Kat Dennings as one of the daughters. Brie Larson as the other one.
Wow.
Yeah. Very peculiar.
So we just need Bob Saget to be a Marvel character now.
Exactly.
And they've got a trifecta.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Jerry Adler is the dad, and he's obviously got quite a long career.
Yeah.
58 credits to his name, and quite a recognisable face. Young Lando is Lil C. I must confess, I have no idea who Lil C is. I understand.
I've got a feeling what I'm going to see when I Google this.
Is it going to be a hip-hop artist by chance?
He's a little chipmunk.
Little chipmunk. Is that what it stands for? Because I hope it's not the alternative, because when somebody in the UK calls somebody a C, that's not what they mean, is it?
Lil C is an American dancer and choreographer.
Okay. I've never seen a picture. Let's have a look at a picture.
I'm trying to find one.
All I can get is sort of old Calvin and Hobbes-esque cartoons, which is odd. Here we go. Let's have a look. Oh, here we go. Okay. Do you know what? I'm gonna say no, but only because if we want to go down the hip hop route for Lando and we don't want to go Donald Glover, I would want Mos Def.
Yeah, cool.
Because he can actually play, like, I've seen Mos Def do comedy stuff. Like, even if you exclude Hitchhikers, he used to do a lot of bits and pieces on Chappelle, and he was great.
Can we have Biggie Smalls instead?
Not without a shovel.
Okay. Exhibit.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Does he go give it to you?
Yeah. Is he... Oh, man. This makes me sound like completely ignorant, but he's the one from Pimp My Ride, right? Exhibit.
He is indeed,
Yeah,
yes.
that's what I thought. I was double-checking, but I thought, well, I don't want to get it wrong because,
Reasons.
Yeah, well, ultimately, I just don't want to get it wrong because I don't want to look like a complete pillock because he's such a massive part of popular culture.
And he go give it to you.
He is going to give it to you, and that's what he's going to do is going to deliver to you. Yeah. Dryden is Johnny Knoxville. This one again,
I think, is another one.
Skews a bit too comedically for me. I think Johnny Knoxville is capable of acting. Like he's got some experience of doing some decent job of acting, but I don't know how well he does the menacing, serious stuff. Even in a light sci-fi kind of space epic context.
I'll give you that.
Yeah. And then lastly, this one I'm guaranteeing. I would be willing to bet good money this one is designed to elicit a reaction. Beckett is Boy George. Vesuvi,
is it?
Do you really want to hurt me?
I think she really wants to make you cry.
Vesuvi, thank you very much for those. I'm glad that you had such a good time doing it because we had a lot of fun doing it last week as well. It's an enjoyable exercise to kind of go back and recast these things. I only wish that my knowledge of actors from the epoch was so good as to be able to do it justice. But sadly, for Mr. Keegan, no, it wasn't Mr. Keegan. It was Alan writing in off the back of Matt Keegan's question. That was it. Sadly for Alan, I'm not that well versed on my actors. More's the pity. So our next message comes from Dave in Australia, one of many Australian listeners, as we identified last week, regarding the Phantom Menace. So Dave writes, "G'day, guys. While listening to episode 158, when Rob and Andy attempted the tough challenge of renaming each Star Wars movie title, I heard Andy refer to The Phantom Menace as his most favourite title. I love it too. What pricked my ears was when Andy said something along the lines of, The Phantom Menace is such a great title, although we only saw the Menace for a short time in the film. I assumed he was referring to Darth Maul, and that confused me because in my head, I always thought the title referred to the underlying threat of Palpatine putting his grand plan into motion. I was interested in your take on this. Does the title refer to the Sith as a Phantom Menace, or the plan of Palpatine, or Darth Maul, or even all of these together? Anyway, interested in your thoughts, hanging out for an episode 9 trailer, or just anything to get the Star Wars juices flying. Thanks again for an enjoyable show. When I listen to you guys chat, I feel like I'm listening to my friends. May the Force be with you, Dave, Australia." Well, Dave, you are listening to your friends. And, I will always say this. We have always been and will always continue to be a listener-focused, listener-centric podcast because ultimately it's the least we can do when the listeners have kept us afloat for so many weeks in a quiet news cycle, which has been barely tolerable at times and has had the clickbait machines just kicking into overdrive. I know there are certain YouTube channels that put out multiple videos a week banging on about the same points. And all I can say is that it's cute when Talk Star Wars does it, but maybe the rest should just ease up, you know. When we talk about The Last Jedi for 5 weeks in a row, it's not because we want to. No, it's because the fans demand it. It's because the listeners want to know what we think about it.
There's nothing else to talk about.
Well, quite. It's not like there are 9 other movies. I did say to Brad a couple of weeks ago, can you do me a favour and watch Solo before we next record, just so we can just do half an hour about that, just for a nice change of pace. But
all roads leads back to The Last Jedi.
Indeed, yeah, exactly. It always ends up there. So, The Phantom Menace. What I know your take. So, what is your take when you?
Right, no, Dave's completely right, because I thought about this afterwards. I was listening back, and I thought to myself, yeah, I've never thought that Maul is really the Phantom Menace. I think it was kind of more of a flippant throwaway comment, you know, about Maul not being in it much. I also have always seen it as more Palpatine. Okay. It's more than even the Sith or anything like that. He is the Phantom Menace because he's doing all of this from, you know, this alter ego, this different persona that he's got. Mm-hmm. He's Sheev Palpatine, this Chancellor and everything, and everyone's. But in the background, he's this Sith Lord that's got this phantom plan in action. And it was kind of one of those where I listened back and thought, oh yeah, no, maybe I didn't mean that. But of course, I didn't expect to be called out on it.
No, indeed. This is often the way. You just say these, you know, I've done this in the past. I just say these things and they go off into the ether, and then I have to answer for them later on. I'm like, what?
Next thing you know, you're standing in front of a dock in front of 12 people having to claim your innocence.
Jury of my peers trying to having to justify my take on the whole maneuver.
Yeah, trying to explain that, you know, you didn't put all those sleeping tablets in the drink and it wasn't your fault.
Moving on. But I mean, is there an argument? And I'm kind of asking this, you know, it's not rhetorical in the slightest. I'm asking this kind of with no particular opinion on it in mind. Is there a take that the Phantom Menace can refer to Anakin? And the fact that his future is uncertain, everything's a bit mired.
Well, to be honest, this is why it's a perfect title for the film. This is why I like it so much, because it's all encompassing, isn't it? Yeah. You can look at Maul as being this one in the background that was training to be. He was the apprentice, and it was this rise in power, and you barely see him, and he's got the hood, and he's very much in the shadows, and he is the Phantom Menace. Or you can look at Sheev Palpatine as being the Phantom Menace. You know, this man that has two personas, and he's putting on this face of being this diplomat and this leader, and in the background he's not. He's something else. And you can look at it, like you say, Anakin as being this young kid that doesn't realise the potential and the route he's going to go down, and we all do. So that's why it works as a title, because he's this cute kid that's great at pod racing, but we all know becomes the most evil, villainous person in the galaxy. So it's why I like it so much as a title. I think it is a great one. It's just sets the tone of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's you know, it's I get what you mean. There's a lot, because it has so much mileage and so much variety and so many interpretations. It works in that respect.
I mean, it's The Empire Strikes Back. It's pretty plain and simple what that film is about.
Yeah. Exactly. So, Dave, there's no really correct answer to it. It's just there's so many ways you can take it. It's the whole pie, the whole cake, dessert things.
Thanks for bringing that one up, Dave.
Much obliged, buddy. Yeah. So next, moving on, we had a message from across the Commonwealth. We had a message from Steve of the San Diego Sabres podcast, who we love dearly, I think, as fair to say, as Commonwealth buddies. And Steve writes, "Evening, gents. I was listening to episode 160 while out washing the car this afternoon, as one does, and your thoughts about comedy in Star Wars got me thinking. To your point that comedy has always been in Star Wars, of course, absolutely. After all, wasn't Star Wars designed for kids and teens? So following that path, the humour used in the original trilogy seems to me to match the style of the times. Think about the old Warner Brothers cartoons, for instance. It wasn't the ham-fisted, copyright Rob Wade, comedy you see today, but had a lot of subtlety to it. After all, how many Bugs Bunny jokes had shades of adult humour? Then in the 2000s, when the prequels came out, the humour was different from the OT. But if we could agree that the kids and teens were again the core demographic, think Jar Jar, the farting EOP, etc., wasn't that the humour of the time? 2005 gave us Wedding Crashers and the 40-Year-Old Virgin. 2004 gave us Anchorman and Dodgeball. 2004 was a great year. 2001 was Shrek, Zoolander, and Legally Blonde. So now along come the sequels. Consider the kids' comedies and cartoons of today. While I get that I'm obviously not the demographic for virtually everything on the Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon these days, there's absolutely nothing subtle about their humour. You can even look at the humour in Star Wars Resistance by way of example. It's in your face, overt, and almost slapsticky. Oh, hang on.
Oh, no. Okay, I don't agree with that one, I'm afraid. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll finish the paragraph and we can circle back to that bit. Kaz runs around the Colossus, hands and legs flailing as he bounces around corners in the goofiest way possible. Not to disparage the show, I've actually come to enjoy it with progressive viewings. Perhaps this is the way of the universe and the galaxy far, far away. As our societies change, views change, comedy changes, so does its use in our beloved franchise. In fact, if they used the same style of humour from A New Hope in Episode 9, would it resonate for Disney's target audience today? As much as I'd like to think they're making Episode 9 just for me, which obviously would improve its outcome exponentially, I'm willing to accept it's going to have things that just don't work for me personally. And that's okay, ham and all. Cheers, and may the force be with you, Steve at San Diego Sabres. Well, Steve, thank you very much for writing in. Andy, you made a face during that read about the Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network stuff, right?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly on the humour of the time.
Okay.
Because you've only got to look through the years of how things change. I mean, the last episode of Tom and Jerry is heartbreaking if you've ever seen it. The two of them sit on a train track ready for an oncoming train.
What?
To commit? Yeah, it's heartbreaking. Watch it on YouTube. Basically, Tom's got a girlfriend.
Right.
She breaks up with him. He's heartbroken. And Jerry, being his best friend, which you've kind of always known because they never catch each other.
Yeah.
He sits down next to him on the train track and you hear the train come in. They're both arm in arm crying and it goes black.
What?
And that is the last original episode of Tom and Jerry. So, I mean, kids' things, through the years have obviously changed a lot. And you look at the Tom and Jerry humour, it's quite violent. I mean, that's what Itchy and Scratchy was always a parody about what they got away with. And there was, the dog always smoking a big cigar, which can't even be shown on some normal TV shows now. They don't have smoking until after 9 o'clock even on more grown-up things. And you look through the years in the Goonies, there was swearing and gunshots and Chunk's hand being put into a blender, and it's a PG because it was okay at the time, and
of course,
we were perceived differently, and they weren't a generation of snowflakes.
Well, I mean, there was Temple of Doom had that, of course, the infamous Kalimar, where the heart gets removed from the chest, and that's a PG.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, look at Star Wars, an arm gets locked off, and there's blood, and it's a U.
Yeah, and absolutely.
That's the thing. Over the years, humour changes with, look at Shrek and things like that. And
sensibilities change as well.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
But the one I didn't agree with is that the humour on some Nickelodeon shows now, because I watch a lot of Nickelodeon because I have a 5-year-old daughter. Yeah, so it's constantly on, and some nights she goes to bed and I've been known to watch 4 episodes of SpongeBob back to back without really sort of paying any attention.
No thing. Yeah.
But I mean, I actually bring this up because there was one show on there at the moment that's called, I think it's Henry Danger or Kid Danger.
Okay.
And I've watched it, and there is so much innuendo in there, and so much depth to some of the jokes that aren't for kids at all. No. And I've watched it, and I can't even really remember what some of them are. But I think even someone gets in a hot tub and there's some kind of innuendo thrown around there, and there's a lot. And I mean, I watch it. There's sort of references to hormones and things, but obviously kids of my daughter's age don't get these references. So I wouldn't necessarily say that kids are dumbed down now and it's thrown in their face. No. But it's definitely a product of its time, humour.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's part of it. I do, I wonder sometimes if it's, to a certain degree, a kind of I've sort of said it's like not giving the audience enough credit, you know. Yeah. But then at the same time, as Steve rightly points out, Disney kind of have a slightly different tack on stuff than Lucasfilm on their own would have done, and Fox would have done via, you know, through them, because their demographics are slightly different.
That's comedy, mate. You know, as somebody that's done stand up, it's comedy. Somebody can. Totally. It's even how you do it as well. You could have the same joke written by the same person and have two different people perform it.
Totally. Yeah, I've seen that happen.
Yeah, and it will come across completely differently. And I just think it might even be down to the actor sometimes in these scenes. And, you know, I love Mark Hamill, and I'm never going to say a bad word about him, but he's not the greatest actor in the world.
No, I think it's fair to say he's not Peter Stormare. That's fair.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to throw Mark Strong up against your Stormare.
Mark Strong, you always chuck that one back at me when I mention Peter Stormare. In your mind, I feel like there's this beef between the two of them, even though they themselves might have never met, or they might be the firmest of friends. But I feel like in your mind, there's this bloodlust rivalry that just exists between Mark Strong and Peter Stormare.
I think to a degree you might have just solved it. You said they've never met. Maybe, just maybe, they're one and the same.
Ooh. Maybe I've never seen them in the same place at the same time. That's a good point.
They're so good at acting. He's so good at acting.
That would be the ultimate acting talent, wouldn't it? Is to convince the world you're two separate people.
Indeed.
And distinct people, because Peter Stormare, I think, is Swedish.
Well, we can all do accents, can't we?
Well, you know, this is it. So
I'm going to refrain from it as to not alienate any of your listeners.
I think we've already towed the line a couple of times anyway. But, you know, in my defence, Dave did open his email with "Good day," so that'll happen.
Indeed.
You know? So, Steve, thank you for that. And I think, broadly speaking, I think I get where Steve's coming from. You know, societies change, things change, people change. The people who are writing Star Wars now have changed. It's not Luke, it's not George anymore, you know.
No, and a lot of them are the fans that grew up watching it.
Totally. And, you know, you see it on Twitter when, you know, people announce that they're writing for Star Wars. A lot of them are so excited. Yeah. And you're like, good for you. I'm glad you're excited.
Well, yeah, even people that are in it now.
Whatever I end up thinking of their performance or their writing or their work, the work they make, whatever I think of it, I'm glad that people who enjoy stuff are getting to write for it. It's a cool thing, you know.
Indeed.
Pleased for them. Our next email is another one from an Australian listener. This is from Matt, and it's entitled "Simple Tricks and Nonsense," which is, if I ever went down the Star Wars podcast route, you know, completely brand new, that would be the kind of thing I'd probably, if not naming the show that way, it's what I'd certainly bill it as. Matt writes, "Hello team, I hope you're all well. As an Australian, I would first like to reach out to my brothers and sisters in Christchurch and say my heart is with every single one of you. I'm incredibly saddened by what's happened, and I hope this podcast can be a spark of joy in the darkness whenever you're ready." So before I move on to the question, obviously, you know, couldn't agree more. Incredibly sad news out of Christchurch last week, and obviously, you know, I don't think any more needs to be said than that, really.
No.
So Matt writes, "I have a borderline philosophical question this week. Must the use of the dark side always corrupt someone to evil purposes? When I've played KOTOR, I love powering up both light and dark side powers for my character, despite the direction I was taking for my character for good or bad. I wondered to myself if all the talk of balance in the Force comes down to the individual wielder. Could someone conquer both the light and dark side powers? Is that the true balance of the Force? Or could that make someone whose intentions were always evil be an even greater threat? Getting philosophical a bit on something that doesn't exist, but I love a good discussion. Personally, I like the balance of light and dark within Jedi, probably why I would find myself to be a grey Jedi. Take care of each other out there. Matt. P.S. Favourite biscuit?" So this is a two-part question. So while you're thinking about the biscuit thing, which I think is going to be the really, you know, that might be where we have the most contentious discussion. Who knows? But we might also
be the meat of the sandwich.
Yeah, we might also completely agree on it. Who knows? Stranger things have happened. But how do you interpret the term balance in the Force?
A rich tea, usually dunked in. Sorry, I'm on the biscuits, mate.
A rich tea dunked in the Force.
I've got the munchies now.
Sorry.
The balance of the Force. I think yes. I think there potentially any Force user could probably use both sides of the Force power-wise. Yeah. But what limits them is the fact that they are dark side and light side powers.
Yeah.
And to use them would be breaking the code that you follow.
Okay.
And channeling the emotion that is necessary for it. I find that the Sith ones are always a lot more offense.
They're about causing harm and benefiting yourself, aren't they? So
exactly. I mean, to make a parallel, like an analogy, look at Harry Potter.
Yeah.
You've got the unforgivable curses. Now, anyone there can say Avada Kedavra and kill someone, but they don't, because it's not one you're supposed to use unless you're a dark wizard. And in a sense, wizards in space, wizards in a school. I mean, and that's how I look at it, is that, someone like Mace Windu, who was trained in both, or has knowledge of both, could probably do it. Yeah. And maybe would if it was necessary, but would have to stop himself from falling too far, because I think that's the thing. It's the power and the emotion that's necessary can consume you.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. I mean, ultimately the dark side powers are always about causing harm to others and benefiting yourself in some form. Luke, of course, uses a choke in Jedi. Like it's a really small. It seems like a small thing, but it is.
It's not. Yeah,
it's quite a significant.
A can of worms.
Yeah, it's quite a significant act he performs there. He chokes a sentient being out, not a human being, a sentient being, just out like that, just to knock them out of commission. I don't know if he kills them, but he chokes them out.
And quite innocent, really, in regard is a Gamorrean guard that's just being paid to do a job.
Yeah, it is like basically walking up and punching a bouncer, isn't it? Really?
Yeah,
it's not right. It's not fair. Yeah. It's trying to do a job. It's not like the Gamorreans probably not on great hours, I would imagine.
No.
Probably not. Wages probably not the best.
If the Gamorrean guard's a bouncer, does that make Bib Fortuna the person that gives out the flyers?
I could see that. If you think of Jabba's Palace as like a nightclub.
Can't see Jabba's Palace tonight, 2-for-1 cocktails before 10 o'clock.
Exactly, Yeah. It's, can you let the cover charge go? It's like, Jabba no bada. And he's like, what are you chatting about, bruv?
Jabba no bada.
Yeah, not having none of it, mate. So there used to be in Legends, I don't know how much of the Legends did you read?
Not much, mate.
Okay,
more Wikiverse than.
Okay, so there was a whole thread in the New Jedi Order series in Legends about the Force being just a well of. It was basically just a well of power, like a well of living energy, and it was up to the intentions of the wielder to decide whether it was for light or for dark.
Right,
and that was a theory I think that in Legends as well, Qui-Gon was a proponent of. It's called the Potentium theory. And like I say, the premise was that the Force was just stuff. It was like water, You could use it to help somebody, or you could use it to kill somebody. Right. It was just a thing. It was just a thing that was there to be used. It was an energy field you could harness if you were strong enough. If you had sufficient numbers of midichlorians, you had the ability to tap into it, and you could either use it for knowledge or knowledge, defense, and attack, depending on your proclivities. And that, to be honest, that it sort of lines up with any kind of weapon. You can use it to defend yourself, or you can use it to attack others. And I sort of get how that works. Or you can, gets into dicier kind of discussions, I guess, if you go deeper into that, follow that train of thought deeper. But if you're talking just kind of on a powers level, on a, bringing it back to Star Wars, I think you would. I can see the appeal of that potentium theory, because it sort of explains that even though Luke does these things like choking and briefly dallying with the dark side in Dark Empire, it explains why he's able to, in the grand scheme, stick to the kind of the path of the light, because he's broadly, 99% of his usage is for, for the benefit of others and for the defense of others.
Well, yeah, I mean, that kind of goes back to what I was saying about the Harry Potter thing, because let's be honest, I think if you're going to, if it was in complete dire straits and someone like Sirius Black was there, I don't think he'd have any problem cracking out a Avada Kedavra to take someone down to save someone for the greater good.
Probably not. No, it's absolutely true.
But he's not going to just walk around and do it because someone shortchanged him.
Yeah.
In Honeydukes or something, it's not.
Exactly.
Sorry, this isn't talk Harry Potter. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, I get where you're coming from, and I think it's a good example of, we've often talked on TSW over the years about the parallels that are there between Harry Potter and Star Wars, and they're there to be found. They're not hard to find.
And the force is magic at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. It's a form of, it's a version of magic. So it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that these things would kind of touch into, they would tie into each other. And in the same way, in the Potter series, two wizards with two wands from the same, with feathers from the same phoenix, both do great things with the wands. One's terrible, one does terrible things, but great things. And it's just about the intentions and the sort of the proclivities of the person wielding the wand. And in this case, wielding the force. It's the people who, they're the ones who want to do harm to others, or the ones who want to advance their own lot in life by using it, are the ones who are going to end up on the dark side. That's true in anything. If you can, even in the world we live in, sort of in the real world, you can mess somebody over using the same tactics as somebody else who's trying to help.
Yeah.
You can mess people around with, I'm sure there are ways to, misuse charity. It's a trickier one to kind of get my head around as a concept, but it must be doable. I've never done it, so I don't know. But
that's what someone that wouldn't want you to know would say.
Well, yeah. Well, all I'm saying is, if anybody important's listening, I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
And obviously,
if you know Rob, there's no way he was running 10K for charity. Okay, so don't fall for it.
That money was just resting in my account. And then, obviously, the more important question: favorite biscuit.
There's a digestive. I don't know if you've seen them. They're chocolate digestives, but with caramel inside them.
Okay, yeah.
Just a thin layer of caramel.
Yeah.
Now, they're very good.
Yeah.
As you sort of your high class, your top tier biscuit. But I think I like my biscuits, Rob.
No, that's fair, mate. That's fine. Ultimately,
I don't think you can
like
beat a good rich tea.
I feel like Matt, in his heart of hearts, he knew you were coming on. He just had an inkling, I think.
I mean, I do a day job where biscuits is quite a large proportion of my daily sales.
Dude, I work in an office, and biscuits, cookies, donuts, they're all in the mix on a regular basis for birthdays, milestones, anniversaries, weddings, children, Wednesday, day of week. Yeah. Some people just bake cakes because reasons, that sort of thing. Lots of enthusiasts.
Some sort of joy in the mundane daily grind.
Exactly. So I sympathise entirely with your position that biscuits are quite a popular thing.
They would sustain nations through
periods of great uncertainty. Yeah,
exactly.
This is it.
But you can't beat a good rich tea dunked in a coffee. I'm a coffee drinker, but it does work in a coffee.
I'm right
rich
there with
tea
you.
Is good.
Coffee's a thing for me as well.
I'm not a fan of custard creams and things, but I do like. There's a recent one which is a Fox's Chunky, and it's white chocolate and caramel. Now they are the bomb.
They sound lovely. Have you had the white Twix?
The white Twix, I have had a white Twix.
What do you make of it? I thought it was all right.
I'm not a fan of white chocolate, to be honest with you.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Same as the Mars Brownie. I don't know if you've seen the Mars Brownie. That's the thing.
I've had those before, yeah.
They are so disappointing. They just taste like a Mars bar.
They do. Yeah, this is it. I mean, I
don't know what I was expecting.
It's authentic, like in the sense of like, they've done a good job there. It tastes like a Mars bar. And then you realise I'm not really that big on Mars bars. I used to be mad at them when I was a kid, just growing out of them over the years.
That's because sugar and children.
Well, there is that, yeah. I'll tell you what I like now, though, a Boost. Love a good Boost.
Yeah, I think when you start saying that you're getting into a Boost, it definitely shows there's a certain thing happening with your body clock and your age, and you're starting to fall in. That's coming up to a middle-aged person's kind of chocolate bar.
What,
that
Boost?
is. Yeah,
really?
I think it is. Yeah, Boost is definitely.
Is that why I'm looking at double deckers going, I haven't had one of them in ages? That sounds great.
Yeah,
I think
your next step is getting a picnic bar and putting it in the fridge because you prefer the chocolate hard.
That's when you know
that.
I've never been
middle age.
Never been big on picnic bars.
You wait, in 10 years' time, you're going to be calling me up going, I've just put my picnic in the fridge. Things a bit serious. It's when you know your midlife crisis has started.
Stuff's just kicked off, Andy. I've just put my picnic in the fridge. It's all about to kick off now. You watch.
Or topic now. That's a real old person's one. You start cracking out raspberry ruffles, I'm going to put you in a home.
That's fair. That's fair. That's no more than I deserve. I mean, like chocolate bar wise, Boost bars are quite. I say I quite like them. Biscuit wise, I don't know. Yeah, I suppose chocolate digestives are pretty good.
How about a fig roll?
I've never been big on those.
No,
never been big on those. Nature Valley do some quite nice stuff. Other biscuit bars are available, but obviously I'm talking about a specific one here. I've done my due diligence. They've done these thing called nut butter cups.
Oh, the peanut butter cups. They're good, right? They're amazing.
Do chocolate ones, they do almond ones. Yeah. They do little almond ones as well, and they're really good. I've become quite partial to them recently. And unfortunately for me, the local Tesco's, other supermarkets are available, have had them in boxes of 4 on half price. So I've got a biscuit tin at work and I've actually filled it up and had to go to my overflow tin because I've bought too many of them, taking advantage.
Well, you really do know your biscuits work when you have an overflow tin.
Well, it's actually one of those plastic cereal boxes, the ones that's supposed to keep cereal airtight so it doesn't go off. But it's actually, until today, it had cereal and a couple of extra biscuits that I couldn't get in the tin. So now they're gone because I ate them first.
So is this just before or after you put your request for a bigger office? Because you can't fit all your biscuits in.
I need a biscuit locker is what I need next. One of those. Or
you need a filing cabinet. You can have them all filed alphabetically. So when you need a biscuit, custard cream.
Bro, mate, where are the Garibaldis? Have you tried G?
Just after the custard creams and bourbons.
Exactly, mate.
Before the rich teas.
Yeah, exactly. They're well above the rich teas. Just past the fig rolls, mate. It's fine. If you need a clue, fig roll, F, Garibaldi, G. It's not hard. The system is there to help you, mate. Come on.
As long as we go in proper names rather than things like Dead Fly Biscuit, as it's colloquially known as. Yeah.
Exactly.
If you go to Dead Fly, does it have C Garibaldi?
Yeah, exactly.
It's got a reference. Okay, that's cool.
Got one of those
as long as I know how you're filing your biscuits just in case.
Like Wikipedia, you have come here from disambiguation, Garibaldi. This might also be the guy from that bloke from Babylon 5.
Indeed, that's all I ever think of.
Yeah. Just a biscuit with his face on.
I'll eat it.
So I had to think, and I'd give a proper answer to that. So I'd have to go with I'll go with the nut butter cups because they're really good, really, really good.
They are good.
Yeah. So the next message is not about biscuits. I sort of feel like we should have ended with that. Maybe. Oh well, so it goes. Mm-hmm. But it's from Diecast Desperado, so it's good in different ways. And he writes, "Greetings, gents. Great show as usual. Thank you, Vesuvio. I did enjoy No Escape Part 1 and Part 2 as well. I found myself saying yes, yes, yes while watching the incredible action in Part 2. I'll have what he's having. They even managed to have a bit of a cliffhanger ending that has me dying to find out what happens. Sorry to bring up The Last Jedi again, but in last week's podcast, you brought up Luke's reaction at the end of The Force Awakens and the beginning of Last Jedi. I think it could be explained as Luke seeing his old lightsaber and feeling a rush of emotion. Remember, the last time he saw it, he was facing Darth Vader, who cut his hand off and revealed that he's Luke's father. After a few moments of this, Luke comes back to his senses and thinks, I'm not getting dragged into this, as he tosses the lightsaber over his shoulder. I actually love this scene. The look on Rey's face as she watches in silence is priceless. I also love the two Porgs playing with the lightsaber, with one stepping on the activator while the other looks down the business end. I did enjoy that. I thought that was quite funny. Yep. In reply to your question about alternate castings, how about Michael Cera as Anakin? I think that could have been great. Just think of a smiling Michael Cera standing with Obi-Wan and Yoda on Endor. May the Force be with you, Desperdoo. Michael Cera has never been one I've been a massive fan of, if I'm honest.
Have you seen End of Days? This is the end.
This is the end. No, I haven't seen that. I heard I hear
he's very good in that.
Yeah,
yeah. He plays a caricature of himself of the complete paradigm shift of what you believe Michael Cera to be.
So he's basically like a really egotistical tool.
He is horrible in it, and it's brilliant because he does it so well, because it's not him at all. I quite like Sarah, but I think he's a one-trick pony.
Yeah, like when Matt LeBlanc plays himself as a caricature in episodes, and he sort of plays that. I've not seen that. Oh, it's fantastic. I definitely recommend it. It's do you know the premise?
I do, but it's Gervais, isn't it?
No. Episodes isn't him. Extras is Gervais. Episodes is Stephen Mangan and Tamsin Gregg writing it. They write an English, I want to say play, or is it a sitcom? Anyway, it gets bought up by an American company, and they want to make a TV series. And it goes from, obviously the nature of the show changes completely, and they instead of casting this sort of old English actor, they cast Matt LeBlanc and change the plot completely. And Matt LeBlanc plays this kind of really fantastic caricatured version of himself. He plays this really sort of completely socially oblivious, really unpleasant, sort of a little bit uncaring, sleazebag, sort of creepy, a little bit dumb. Again, like the sort of opposite of what you imagine Matt LeBlanc is actually like.
That's exactly what they do with Sarah in that. Yeah.
What do you make of that? How do you interpret? So the better question, rather than addressing Desperdoo's thing specifically, how do you interpret the end of the Force Awakens and how it tails into The Last Jedi in terms of Luke?
Luke is a higher power at this point. I think he's mastered the Force to a degree that we haven't seen in years, and he's kind of the Yoda. He can see these hints of what is to be, because we see it with Yoda, don't we? That he has these kind of, the knowledge of the future in a way, as if the path continues as it is. And I think Luke may have some of that, and he knew that this was coming. He knew it was coming. He was standing on that cliff for a reason. Yeah, and that was the moment when she turned up. He grabbed that lightsaber, looks at it, and he's like, insert expletive. Yeah. Right? And that's the point where he knows that it's all the events are in motion that cannot be undone, and he's had enough of it. He was hoping that it was a blip on the radar, and I think it was just like bugger, this is the one. And it's just walks away from it because he knows what's coming.
Yeah. I think part of the reason people kind of jar with that scene is just because obviously at the end of the first movie, the look isn't one of complete indifference. It's a look of, there's a recognition of plays across his face. I mean, it's a testament to Mark's performance that it's the only bit he's in, and there's so many different ways you can interpret it. Yeah. But I think the reason people find it so jarring is because he tosses it over his shoulder just like that, with no, and you can at the beginning of the film, it goes, I've said it before many times, but it goes a bit, the jokes go a bit Marvel and a bit silly for me personally. And it feeds quite into that first 10 minutes, 15 minutes of all the jokes being a little bit played out and a bit over the top and a bit ham-fisted.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's the jokes. I think it's the velocity at which they're thrown at you in those first 15 minutes. Yeah. And that's what it is. I think had you had just the Luke thing throwing the lightsaber over his shoulder, and that was it, I think it may be a bit more poignant. But then it goes into the Hux phone call thing with Poe, which is a little bit.
It does go a bit. It reminds me of the beginning of Thor Ragnarok.
I quite like the scene with Surtur, to be honest. I heard you say about this.
I do to a point, but there is a point where I'm sort of going like, okay, I'm ready for whatever's coming next now.
I think with Thor, it was necessary to reframe him as this character they have in this one, because Thor Ragnarok changed Thor as a character completely. No more dyed eyebrows and no more silly I don't get it jokes, and he's making them himself, which I like. And that's Taika Waititi as well. That's him bringing his flair to the film, which I kind of get. It wasn't necessary, but I think that little scene was just to reframe you and go, this is the Thor you're getting now, not the one that you know. But with Star Wars, we know what we had, and we already had another film, and we were on this level. And that joke, I think it wasn't the fact that it was the joke, it just went on a bit too long. If he'd have just done that first, okay, I'm waiting for Hux, that would have been enough. Okay, I'll hold, wasn't it? Because he goes off about, this is the first order. And then I'll hold. And that could have been enough. But then the joke continues for another sort of 30 to 40 seconds, and it's not necessary. And we've just had that after the Luke thing, and then we have a little bit more with something else. And I think one or two of them could have been taken out of that script, and it may have made it a little bit better.
Maybe maybe you're right. Maybe it's just
more palatable with the humour.
Maybe it's just a little bit I'd say maybe it is just that. Maybe it's just a bit played out. It's a bit overdone.
A bit too much.
I get that.
I mean, I like the Luke thing, because honestly, I mean, what other reaction is there? The guy is totally done with the Force. He doesn't want to know anymore. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, which I think he kind of knows it's coming, and this is the moment he's been dreading. Waiting for it, dreading. And it's happened, and his reaction is he gets it and goes, nah, and just chucks it over his shoulder and walks off. I mean, what do you want him to say? No, I'm not into this, thanks. I'll see you later. He's just done.
I think it could have still worked if he just, if she'd handed it to him and he walks over to her and then just goes, no, and just hands it back and walks off. I think you could still do the reaction shots that you get from Daisy Ridley, which are really funny.
Different ways of doing it. I get that.
But I think I think that still could have worked. But then, it amounts to the same thing, and it just feels a little bit less OTT. Especially if you could build up to that a bit more dramatically. Like he sort of walks slowly towards her, and she's like, trying to sort of, because that would give Daisy Ridley a chance to really kind of put some power behind that as well, because she would be sort of standing there, he's getting closer to her, and she's kind of like, he's real, he's real, he's real, and then he suddenly
shoves the lightsaber back at her.
He just pops it, he just kind of pushes it back against her, sort of you know how people when they sort of shove something into your sort of chest area, and you kind of grab at it and just sort of you just kind of grab at it kind of awkwardly. You could just hand it back to her that way, and then just go, nope. And then just carry on and walk off, and like I say, you'd still be able to do the reaction shots from Daisy Ridley, and it would still serve the same purpose. You wouldn't get, it would be harder to get the Porg sight gag, which I do, like I say, I do quite like it because they're kind of cute, and also at the same time it's quite funny, the idea that it wouldn't take much to just.
Have you seen the storyboard sketches of it?
Yeah,
because it does go off in them.
Yes. Yeah, but as I say, I don't know. The problem I have ultimately that I keep ending up with is that I struggle to think of a different way of doing it. Like what I've just kind of laid out there is my first real stab at, when people say like, could you do it any better? I'm like, well, I could have a go. And that's really the first time I've given it a proper attempt.
Honestly, I don't think I personally don't see much wrong with a lot of the humour. It's either a little bit too played out or there's just a bit too much of it too often. I don't think any individual joke is bad. There's just, they followed too quickly after another one for that first half of the movie at least. The
best way I can explain where it kind of loses me is, I know from speaking to you that you're a Family Guy watcher. The episode where Peter gets one of the tickets to the Pawtucket Brewery and he's running along and he falls and skins his knee. Yeah. That works 3 times, and after that it loses me. And then later on in the episode you can do it again. Like he kicks him in the, because Pawtucket Pat kicks him in the shin and he drops down again, and he does it again. Okay, fair enough. And then later on they bring it back in a few later series, and that's fine. 3 times is when that is how many that works for me personally. And it's like the especially the Poe and Hux thing is like him skinning his knee for a minute and a half.
Mm-hmm. The chicken fight does that to me in Family Guy as well. They do it once, and it was really funny. And then the second time, I thought, and it still went on far too long.
And then they brought it back for that Simpsons crossover. And,
just let it lie now.
Exactly.
I think though humour is one of those things. If you continue the same joke, I mean, probably if they did it 8 or 9 times, it might start to get funny again.
Maybe,
maybe. Repetitive humour is one of my favourites because I think it just wears people down to the point they laugh at you because they feel sorry for you. But
maybe,
that's what I do weekly on our podcast. And but it is one of those that it's just too much. I think it's just too much. Not wrong, just too much of it.
Yeah, so. I get what you mean. I think that maybe there's an element of that to it for sure. But Desperado, hopefully that does your comments justice. I was going to say our last message, but actually we got one just before we went on the air, and I'm just trying to find the content of it now. But it's from Jared, and it's very, very quick. But Jared had a fantasy casting suggestion. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. And it is... Howdy, folks. So with last week's casting game, I nominate John Waters as Grand Moff Tarkin. That would make it a very different film, I feel.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think, and not necessarily for the better. I don't know. It's tricky, I
don't think anyone can beat Cushing, to be fair.
I think it is a hard... This is one of those things that we struggled with last week, is I think there are some roles that are just genuinely hard to top. And Peter Cushing as Tarkin is one of those where he's just so good. Yeah. And it's hard to, it's
a timeless performance.
Yeah, it's hard to see anybody else in that in that space, just because, like you say, it's timeless. But
I just think it's timeless as well. His appearance, if you actually look at that scene, a lot of the style and the look of a lot of the other actors, they are all very much elements of their time. Peter Cushing looks like Peter Cushing. And I think if you had him standing there now, God rest his soul, if he was still alive and he was standing there, he would look like Grand Moff Tarkin, and it wouldn't miss a beat.
No, I think you're right.
The original trilogy. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know if I've asked you this before. What do you like? Do you have a particularly strong opinion one way or the other on the Tarkin stuff from Rogue One?
I have a very strong opinion on that. I think it's fantastic.
I totally agree. I was just curious.
And I think it's one of those, any other person doing it wouldn't have done it justice.
No.
Had you have not had him in there, it wouldn't have made any sense.
Nope.
They did the best they could in the situation they had, and it looks great. And if you can suspend disbelief and just enjoy it for what it is, then it adds so much value to the story. There you go.
Completely agree. But I just wanted to get your thoughts because I didn't know if we'd ever discussed it before. I lose track, to be honest, of when I have discussions, who I have them with and how long ago. So
ask Dave. I change my opinion constantly about things that I say about Star Wars.
So, it happens. Everybody's got something in their in their history of opinions that's changed over the years, and mine is I've warmed to certain prequels more over the years, I would say. I think most people have genuinely warmed to them rather than the other way around. Generally speaking,
I'm 50-50 there.
Okay.
I've started to really enjoy The Phantom Menace and hate Attack of the Clones even more.
Attack of the Clones is a harder sell because there's so much wrong with it.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a shame because there's so much cool stuff, but it's just, there's a lot wrong. There's a lot there that's wrong. But, what can you do? And then our last message comes from yourself, sir. And I'm going to read it and give you a chance to, lay your opinion out there.
Okay.
Hi, I liked you guys. Then I heard this week's pod. How dare you choose Foster as Leia? Brad, I'm disappointed that you of all people did not see the one and only other choice for this role would be the Queen of Horror herself, Jamie Lee Curtis. I implore you to take a long, hard think about your actions. Much love, keep up the stellar work. Your Brad Paul's a sicky substitute, and...
Hello.
And sure enough, here you are.
Yeah, couldn't have written that better.
I know, right? It's like I knew you were coming. I didn't think of Jamie Lee Curtis at the time.
How can you not? It's Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, for years I thought they were the same person anyway.
I could see it working, The more I think about it.
Strong, independent, got attitude, but can be beautiful and it's just fantastic, man.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from.
And I also had the fat kid from Bad Santa. I was going to put on a PS on that one, but I thought, no, I won't. But,
but not so much. But that's not so much as Leia, though.
Oh, as Leia.
Oh,
the
okay.
Fat kid. Yeah, no, Billy Bob Thornton as Leia, if you're going to go Bad Santa route.
Fair. All right. Okay, well, that works.
Jamie Lee Curtis, man, she's fantastic. She's phenomenal. She's beautiful.
Great. Yeah, she's fantastic. I totally agree. And like I say, the more I think about it, after
Lies.
Look at True Lies. True Lies.
How
she
plays, what she plays in that scene that we know, and the wife. She's
brilliant. She really is great. Yeah. I say the more I think about it when you sent this through and I read it, I'm just like, yeah.
Look at her in Halloween as well.
Yeah,
at that age.
Yeah, it's the right age. Ultimately, it's the perfect. She's very much perfect in that respect. It would work very well, I think.
And her dad's awesome.
Her dad is awesome. Yes, indeed. Well, that's all we got time for this week in terms of messages from our wonderful listeners, including your good self. Yeah.
More of a dig at you and Brad, to be honest.
Well, everybody takes their shots. So, and we're, pretty resilient, so I can deal with it. I've been, fielding this sort of thing for some time. Open myself up to criticism pretty regularly over the years.
That's what podcasting's all about. Say stuff, get it wrong, get people attack you online about it.
I've been on Twitter for 11 years. I mean, is it 11? 9 years. If I was thin-skinned, I think I wouldn't be on there, or I'd be demanding that they accede to my whims.
I think I've been on there about that long, but I think I've only ever put, so let's see what this Twitter thing's about. And then that was my last tweet.
Yeah.
So,
then obviously that's kind of lines up nicely with Blake, Emotionally 14. He's got the same sort of approach to his Twitter, which unfortunately, because it's a family show, I can't tell you.
Yeah. Well, when I got onto Twitter and I suddenly realised it meant actually talking to people.
Yeah.
I'm checked right out of that.
Yeah. I think that's why Instagram is kind of picking up in popularity, because people have caught on to the fact that you can just talk and nobody has to interact with you, and that's fine.
I know, it's great. I love it.
Yeah, it's good in that respect. I definitely see the appeal of it more and more with every day. And now I figured out how to automate a few bits out of that, then I'm a happy man. But thank you very much for listening to Talk Star Wars this week. Andy, thank you to you for stepping in as my reliable sickie substitute.
That's fine, man.
As I say, I don't think it is a sickie this week, but I forget what it was. I don't remember if I was told and have just since forgotten, or whether I was not told and didn't ask. But as I say, Brad will be back. 6-1. Brad will be back next week. But in the meantime, obviously, if you've enjoyed this show and you want to go back and listen to our extensive catalogue of Star Wars podcasts, as well as enjoy some of the satellite shows like TSW Roundtable and TSW Comics, which, turn up every now and then on a errant Thursday, then you can find us on all good podcast subscription platforms and some of the rubbish ones as well. But including but not limited to, it's on Spotify, it's on YouTube, it's on iTunes. I think Podbean, very surprised if it wouldn't be on Podbean. It's on Spreaker. You can see it on emotionally14.com on a Monday. You can see it on Patreon on a Saturday if you're a Patreon person and you wish to donate to the Talk Star Wars cause and support for as little as $1 a month, which is nothing really, is it? No, this is it. You can round, I think exchange rates fluctuate by that much in the course of an average hour. So,
yeah, I mean, what is that in pence?
It's, about 80p?
So you can just buy a can of Coke now due to the sugar levy. 79p for a can of Coke.
A can of Coke Zero and some money towards the next one.
No, Zero's a bit cheaper.
Yeah.
Because it's no sugar.
You'd have a bit of change for the next one.
Yeah.
You could maybe get 2 for a little bit more. But, for the cost of a can of Coke, other drinks are available. I'll do my Pepsi due diligence. You can support Talk Star Wars. In return for your support, you will be able to access an ad-free version of the show that drops on a Saturday instead of a Monday. And in the event of those aforementioned satellite shows, the TSW Roundtable with Robert Cast and TSW Comics with Rob Cast and Tim, you can get those a week before they drop on the main podcast feed. So you definitely get some value out of having the chance to hear it all first.
I would buy that for $1, mate.
I think, and I'd love to see more people follow your example, Andy. I really would. But those are the main ones. Those are the main ways to hear the show. Like I say, it's on YouTube again now. It's on the Emotionally 14 YouTube channel. It's appearing there every week. It's available on iTunes, Spotify, all the podcast catchers that, Android and iOS have. It's on all of them as far as I know. If it's not, let me know. I can look into it and make sure it is, and that's doable. Otherwise, as I say, you can find it on emotionally14.com along with loads of other wonderful Star Wars and podcast things. Andy, if people want to follow you on social media, where might they do that?
They can find us over at retroinc.co.uk. Find us on everywhere you've said, really. Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, with our YouTube,
those sort of things,
Instagram, or you can follow me on Instagram as well at Lone Hobbit Adventures.
Nice. So Retro Inc. I will obviously come to in a moment and give a bit more of a in-depth shout out, but I'm also available on social media. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RobWadeVision. The Instagram is going to be where you're going to be able to find out when there's a new post on emotionally14.com. I've got the automation on that working again today. So that'll be, spamming your eye holes with all sorts of fun stuff. Anytime there's something new to share on Emotionally 14, you'll get a notification via the Instagrams. So if you're an Instagram person and you want to keep up with what's happening on Emotionally 14, a really good way is Rob Wade Vision, because that's where I'm going to be sharing those things.
You have P's for your gram, don't you?
Indeed, yeah. And I'm also the face behind the space at Emotionally 14 and at Talk Star Wars on Twitter and Instagram. As I say, the website's emotionally14.com. From there, you can get to the YouTube channel. There's Star Wars themed content in Fire When Ready. And if you like other podcasts, they're not family friendly, but there's 2 more podcasts there, as well as obviously the other Talk Star Wars stuff and the E14 Endorse podcast, which are, a series of wonderful shows. Speaking of wonderful shows, I want to talk a bit about the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network, because there are 9 outlets in that network, Andy, and we are but 2 of them.
Wow.
We represent but 2 of them.
So there's 7 others.
7 others, yeah. And I'm going to tell you all of them right now. And within these, I should say, there are multiple shows that do. Some of them do different feeds. Some of them do different episodes. Some of them do different themes every now and then, or some of them. There's all sorts of stuff going on. You can't even imagine. There's just so much good stuff. Wow. So in addition to Talk Star Wars, you can also enjoy Tumbling Saber, Generation X-Wing, The Nerd Room, the Rogue Squadron podcast, the San Diego Sabres radio podcast, Tatooine Sons, the Sandcrawler cast with Dan and Mike, and the Retro Inc. podcast, which I believe you're familiar with.
Yeah, I think I've listened to it before.
You got a passing interest, I believe.
Yeah, they got a 1-star review on iTunes the other day, so
Yeah, it's not a great sign, is it? Silly fun, isn't it?
Come and have a listen and see if we warrant it. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, you got to find out for yourself. If you agree,
give us another one.
Ultimately, we encourage all listeners to make up their own minds.
Indeed.
And if you disagree, then share your own score.
Just like Star Wars, it's okay not to like it.
Exactly. Everybody doesn't have to like everything, and that's absolutely fine. So, thank you very much for listening to Talk Star Wars this week. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I don't know what it is. So for now, I'm going to say thank you very much for listening to Talk Star Wars episode 161. Look forward to episode 162 next week. And in the meantime, may the Force be with you.